have the time for the questions.
Thanks a lot.
So, hello everyone. I work at Accor. I don't know if all of you know what Accor does, but it's an hotel company. It's an hotel group. So with many brands that you might have heard: IB's, Mercure, Novotel, Pullman. So it's an hotel company. And I'm going to talk today to you about conversational. So chatbots, voice assistants, and everything around the natural language. So what we do as humans and how this can boost the guest experience.
Cesar, sorry, just to
Yep.
make the quality better, if you put the microphone a little bit away from yourself, it's very strong.
Sorry. And then
Thanks a
I
lot.
speak also very loud because I'm Spanish.
You are very energetic. Bravo.
So, and I was constructing this presentation the other day, and I was thinking, okay, what could be really useful for you guys to hear about this topic? And I thought to myself, there are two kind of people in the audience that can be here. So people who are already embarked in the conversational journey, and for them, I'm sure I will not teach you anything new. But for those who are just curious or are thinking about embarking into this adventure, I said, okay, I'm going to give you at least a few insights of how this works and the main problems you could face, so that at least you end up today with some valuable knowledge and valuable insights about this topic. So I'm going to start to just give you a few market data. Okay, keep in mind that this is from 2019, and as you can imagine, last year there were not many studies because not many companies had the budget to pay for many of them, and some of the numbers that were expected for last year, well, they did not happen because again, no one expected last year. But for me, it's just a matter of time. I mean, we will reach these numbers probably next year by 2022 or 2023. The truth is that this voice in general and the conversation is really a trend, and you have to see it as a new channel, honestly, like the web was in the 90s or the mobile in 2010. So you see that, for example, Google, which is, as you know, the main search engine used all over the world, they see already a huge raise in search by voice. We will see afterwards there are countries that are more advanced or more prone to using voice than others, but it's still a trend, and we are seeing more and more people using voice to just do the normal searching commands. We also see the huge increase in bots. So these automated programs that will reply to you as if it was a human, and Messenger is the leading platform for that. And a lot of replies that you get on Messenger from companies are made by chatbots. Again, the rise of these smart devices that I hope that most of you have at home, and you, I mean, basically you will think of three, which is the Google Assistants, the Alexa devices, and probably Apple ones. These devices where you can interact with your voice and command your house, command your information, and do everything with a new, like I said, with a new channel. Also think about how accurate these things are getting, and when you think about Google's NLU, so natural language understanding engine, so the core program that understands what we say as humans, they are really accurate, and they are capable of understanding 95% of the words we are saying. This is incredible if you think about it. Even as a human, I'm not sure I understand 95% of what some other people with some accents are telling me, and they do. So this is incredible. And yeah, of course, then we have all these matters of adoption, but we'll talk about that later. Like I said before about maturity in regions, it is very unequal. And we have seen that Asian countries are extremely advanced in using voice, and mostly Western, so Europeans are somehow laggards. I mean, we don't use it that much compared to them. This might have a reason also with the fact that our keyboards are very much Latin-based or oriented towards us. So for us, it's quite easy to type in French, in English, in Italian, in Spanish. And probably most of the Asian languages, they have to do it phonetically, so it's really bothersome for them to type. And that might have pushed the widespread of voice as a channel for everyday use. But anyway, the point is that the use is unequal, but you clearly see a trend of going up and up and up in the usage, because it somehow is convenient. When you get used to it, you probably won't go back to using a keyboard. And some people might think that this is very much for the young, right? Like old people will not use voice; they will remain and stick with the old-fashioned ways of getting and accessing information and interacting with companies, that's not true. So we see that it's really quite averaged among all ages that the voice is used. So it's not the young that use it more than the old, but and this is the second part of this data, is that we are still, at least in European countries and in Western countries, using it seldomly. I would say it's not for every use or everything that we use, but it's still, like I said, an important trend. So now that I try to convince you that this is important, it's something you have to at least think about, maybe not apply because it might not be something that you need in your industry, but at least have it in mind. I'm going to talk to you about how we used it at Accor. So how conversational could boost our guest experience. And for that, again, I'm using the word experience. This is something that all UX-centered companies or products should do. So we have an experience map for our customers, right? So this ideal path from point A to point B that leads from a discovery phase to a selling and then to the customer care in the end. So these are the three main steps. And of course, this is oversimplified. I mean, it's really more complex than that, but these are the three main steps when you think about when you buy or you book an hotel. So you first have this phase of discovering, of searching, then booking, of course, there's the sale. Then there's the time when you buy it up until the moment you stay in the hotel, which is the preparation and the stay itself once you are inside the hotel. And then, of course, it's the customer care if you have any problems or you have any, or you have a loyalty program or things like that. So things that happen after the stay itself. And at each of these three steps, you can think about potential use cases and experiences that you can boost with conversational. So for example, if you think about this searching phase, this discovery phase, the first thing that comes to mind is a voice search. And I don't know if you're aware with that, but e-commerce platforms, they usually measure the efficiency of a user experience in terms of number of clicks that are required to reach the moment where you buy the product, right? And voice is great for that because you are removing so many clicks on so many places and it can get you straight where you want. So instead of clicking the location, clicking the dates, clicking the number of person, you can just say it. And with just one action, you get straight to what you want. So this is great for improving this experience and this efficiency in the experience. So of course, this is a thumb up for this kind of approach. Again, it's not that widely used in Europe, but it is extremely used in other countries and in other regions. So it's something to keep in mind. And again, if you are in Asia, that's a no-brainer for sure. And then, for example, we tried one, and this is the thumb down, because it's also important to explain that not everything we test and we try works, and that's okay. That's part of the process. And it was booking with voice. So, for example, having a full voice experience on booking an hotel, and that doesn't work. I mean, we tried it and we did some surveys, and people were super enthusiastic. Oh yes, we want that because it was the launch of Google Assistant, so there was this hype around the smart speakers. And then in the end, we realized that people actually they didn't use it, and it makes sense because when we asked them afterwards when we launched it, why aren't you coming back? I mean, you use it once, but you never come back. And all the clients said, yes, because I want to see pictures. And it makes sense. I mean, when you're booking an hotel, you want to see what it looks like. I mean, it's not just by voice, but the voice can tell you the hotel is lovely, but how lovely? And what does it mean to be lovely? You want to see it. So it makes sense. Again, it was 2 years ago. So now with all these new devices that have screens, we can still, again, put these kind of experiences back into consideration because we can now show pictures. But you see the process, again, it's a trial and error, and some of them work and some of them don't. If you think about the next step, for example, okay, imagine you have searched your hotel with your voice, you have booked your night. Okay, now you have a booking that is done. What can be done around this conversational experience or channel to improve the experience? So the first thing that comes to mind is the booking confirmation. So sending your booking by email, of course, like we do today, but why not having it in Messenger? Why not having it in WhatsApp or in whatever thing that you use every day? That's the whole point. And again, one of the things that we measure in e-commerce to see if something is used or accepted or valued is the click rate, right? So you put a feature in your website or in your app saying, click here and do something, and you measure how many people will actually click on that. And we set up this booking confirmation, sending it to WhatsApp, for example. We were one of the first companies that introduced WhatsApp for business. So WhatsApp for the companies, not for the personal like you and I would use it with our families. And more than 40% of the people that saw the button clicked on it, which is huge. Normally, you would say around 10% is a good feature. Now was really, really, really well accepted. So it's a great feature to have, just sending the booking confirmation. Then we had another topic said, okay, now you have your booking in your messaging platform. What can we do with that? So we said, okay, maybe you can chat with the staff, right? So you can send a message to the hotel to probably ask some questions, like, I don't know, when is the check-in? Or is the pool open right now? Because maybe it's winter or things like that. And that's why I wouldn't say it was a thumb up, and I'm going to go afterwards on that, is that people, when they use messaging, for example, they expect immediate response. When you send an email, it's okay to get the response in a day or a couple of days. But when you send a text or WhatsApp or a messenger, you want an answer now. And the staff was not always available to answer now. So that's why it worked, but the experience was not that positive, because people were expecting the soft rules of the channel, which is that when you send a message, you want something instantaneously. If you send an email or submit a form, then sure, you're expecting something longer than that. But yeah, it was somehow deceptive. And then that's where we introduced, for example, the last one is, okay, if the staff cannot answer because they are busy, can a chatbot answer? And that's the prepare your stay. So we introduced a chatbot in between the staff and the client, for example, to try to answer all the questions that this chatbot could. It was not 100%, of course, but at least we saw numbers of 60% of the questions asked that were replied, and the client was happy with the response. So we said, okay, I mean, the staff cannot answer all of the requests, but now they only have to answer to 40% of the requests, which is more manageable than that. So again, and then we thought, okay, even if it's just not just answering questions, but what if we could improve the experience of the stay of the whole trip, and for example, propose informations like restaurants around the hotel, for example, and enrich all this booking that is already done. For example, okay, if we know that he's coming from the airport, why don't we propose to him a reduction code for Uber, for example, things like that. So the chatbot could give you all this information about the hotel and also enrich your booking, which was just originally a night in the hotel, and give you more information about restaurants, activities, services around the hotel, help you book things that you might need to get there or get from there, etc. And of course, if you think of the last step, and that's really, again, a no-brainer, is the customer care. I'm sure you already have seen it in most websites. There's this small pop-up button at the bottom right corner with the chatbot. That's a no-brainer. I mean, when you are asking for help and you need assistance, you can either propose a huge FAQ, right, with all these questions and answers, and make the client go through these hundreds of questions and answers, or you just can ask him. And the chatbot does exactly that. So it will transform this knowledge database, which is an FAQ, into something more interactive and personalized. Because FAQs, by nature, they are general. So you will not get answers for you, you will get general answers. But if the chatbot knows who you are, then it will give you your answer. So if he knows that you were in that hotel 2 nights ago and you're saying that the experience was bad, the chatbot knows that you're talking about that hotel, for example, and can give you specific information about that particular stay. So it's pushing the boundaries of normal self-care to something more personalized and more interactive. And of course, again, the loyalty program. As you know, Accor, or might not know, Accor has a loyalty program with points when you get your stays. The idea here is that these programs are not always that easy to understand. When you get points, when you lose them, the kind of points when you go from one level to the next, from bronze to gold or gold to platinum and this kind of stuff. So again, it's a way of making the explanation of the loyalty program, which might be intrinsically more or less complex, something manageable and easily understandable.
Time for questions, Cesar. Sorry, there are a lot of questions for you already on the chat box.
I didn't even did the 20 minutes. I still have 5 technically, right?
In 5 minutes, we are fully finished. So
okay.
If we give time now for Q&A, I appreciate.
Sure. I was preparing some of the difficulties, but you probably will have the support afterwards. I don't see the questions other than the.
Oh, the questions are on the chat box. Let me tell you the first one. Gerard Mas is writing you. Thank you, Cesar, for the interesting presentation. Is the voice booking will help to avoid company such as booking.com?
Well, not really, not by itself. The voice booking will help the experience from the moment you are looking for something to the moment you get it, and it can help, for example, for accessibility. That's for sure. But it will not bypass booking. Booking is another completely different business model, and booking is a general booking search engine. So we will not just look at Accor. So people who want to look for an hotel in general will probably go to Booking. People who are looking for hotels from Accor will go to Accor, even though hotels from Accor are on Booking. But for example, there is no loyalty program on that, etc. So voice cannot really replace Booking because the business model is not exactly the same, but it can improve the experience to make people choose Accor instead of Booking.
Thanks a lot. Another question from Jose Maria. I have started to see more and more chatbots in almost all websites I visit. Have you seen a great rise in the use by your customers?
Well, I mean, sure. If you propose a new way of contacting you, people will usually take it. And what we have seen is that they usually, when someone is angry, especially when they are angry, they will use every way they can to contact you. So if you give a phone number, they will call you. If you give a chatbot, they will use a chatbot. And if you give an email, they will send you an email. So of course, yes, if you give that as a possibility, they will use it.
Thanks a lot. Another question from Paolo Bartolacci. How do you manage increasing amount of sensitive data from a privacy point of view?
Exactly. So that's a good question. And it is true that conversations should not be stored as is. And that is a problem because Google and Amazon and all these, they do store the conversations. And that's very much borderline with LGBT. Then they store it technically with an anonymous identification, so they cannot trace it back to you, but still, they are still recording everything that we say and exchange with them. From our perspective, we don't really want the conversations. That's too much data. We only want the insights from them. And that's actually, I mean, we don't store that much information personal from the exchange, but we track the problems and the solutions in our CRM, which again makes sense as a normal company. We don't generate more personal data with chatbots for now by choice, but yeah, some companies do, and it is something to watch because yeah, some might not be as.
Thanks a lot. I skipped two comments from Jose from Scania and Robert, having just confirmation of what you are saying, but I go for the last question, Gabriele from Swarovski. Hi, thank you for the presentation. How do you define the use cases to develop? From my experience in a similar project, the guests of the hotels for extremely simple tasks, while the company want to create more engagement also to drive sales.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, the good approach to always start a project is start with a pain point, right? With a need. So all of these projects, they start with user research, and that's something that we do extensively. So we do a lot of focus groups, a lot of interviews, a lot of surveys, and we identify potential needs and potential lacks. And one of the things that you might have noticed, whenever you stay in a hotel, you always receive a survey afterwards, and that is super rich for us. So all of these features that we developed, they came from originally a pain point from users. And even if you think about the voice search itself, it was a pain point for accessibility reasons. It was, okay, how can we enable people who have problems with eyesight or are not familiar with our normal search engine to get an hotel? I mean, they can always call a call center, but what if they don't want to call a call center and they want to use a tool? That's why we used it. So it always, I mean, the good start for all the projects is a real user pain point.